Hi, my name is Christine Rice, and this is my 8th set of book critiques. For this tech set, I chose to focus on a book called El Defo by C.C. Bell. This book falls under the genre of picture book and also autobiography, as it focuses in on the life of Cece and her struggle with wearing a hearing aid due to being hard of hearing. This book focuses on Cece's early education and how she was often made fun of and ridiculed for having a hearing aid. Cece then begins to view her hearing aid as a sort of superpower, as she is able to hear certain conversations that she may not be supposed to. I love this book not only because it introduces again the autobiography, which we have studied previously in our unit, but also because it tells of the struggle of Cece and how she learned to view her deafness as something unique and special to her, rather than something to be embarrassed about. My first lesson would take place in the content area of language. I would encourage my students to learn more about the deaf community and the ASL language by using this website. So the website is called Very Well, and it says adapting to a life with hearing loss can be difficult. To ease the transition, familiarize yourself with the condition and choose the right hearing aid. So although this is for a certain situation, I love this website because it tells so much about those who struggle with being hard of hearing or being deaf. So as you can see, there are many great tabs on the side here. Causes, deaf community, hearing loss, deaf and hearing people, deaf culture, history, learning sign language expression, and so on. Each tab that's clicked, different articles are available to be read. So my students will be asked to explore the numerous tabs on that website, and they will then be asked to turn in a fact sheet including 10 facts that they did not know before exploring this website. At least 4 of the facts should be ones that deal with what happens in the body to cause hearing loss. So this will also be a sort of science lesson as well. So as I said, this will not only serve as a lesson in science and the human body, but also on the culture of the deaf community as well. And as a final assignment, which really comes into the language portion of the assignment, I will ask my students how to sign one of their chosen facts in ASL using this website. These will then be demonstrated to the class. So the website is called ASL Browser, and you click on a desired letter and then you find the word that you want to sign. So we can see able. So maybe their fact might say people who are unable to hear. They could sign that. And usually it includes a motion showing you which sign is used for that word. So I thought this was a great website for learning sign and for just putting together a sentence to show the class. And as for my artifact, I created a fact sheet myself that as I said, I would assign to my students. And these are all facts that I found on that website. So a few of them are under causes of hearing loss. As I said, my students should include at least 4. Thousands of people became deaf because of an epidemic of maternal rubella in 1963 before a vaccine had been developed. Another cause is syndromes or gene mutations such as the BOR syndrome, Goldenhar syndrome, Treacher-Collins syndrome, Usher, and the Waardenburg syndrome. In the deaf culture, some interesting facts I found is that poetry is common among deaf people for expressing feelings, worldviews, and the beauty of the ASL language. And some often find it hard to be accepted into the deaf community, whether they are deaf themselves or have recently become deaf or are family members of those who are deaf. But it's very important to find this support system and to find help when going through this hard change. Learning sign language can be done in a lot of different places, such as college, deaf schools and programs, social service organization programs, and then community classes can be taken and also online classes. And it's not difficult to learn for communication purposes. For instance, if someone you know became deaf, it wouldn't be that hard to learn. But it is difficult to learn as a language, as is any language, and it just takes time and practice. And finally, ASL interpreters, their salary depends on their environment, their location, their certification, and whether they're full-time or part-time. But it's important that many people train to be interpreters because they're not just needed in classrooms, but also in hospitals, stores, government positions, and so on. So that's the basic fact sheet that I would expect to see from my students. And I would definitely show this to them as an example so that they know what they're expected of. So my second lesson would take place in the content area of creative writing. So after our reading of the novel, I would ask my students to create their own type of autobiography based on this book. So I will first ask my students to brainstorm what it is that makes them unique, so what their superpower is, such as Cece's hearing aid. After they have decided on their unique aspect or superpower, my students will write a short story of 500 to 800 words about themselves and their superpower. So this story will tell about their life and what makes them unique and include one descriptive scene which highlights their superpower and why it makes them a better person. I love this activity just because it will serve as great practice in brainstorming, in creative writing, and in descriptive writing as well. Some other titles and genres I chose are The War That Saved My Life, which is historical fiction, William Blake's Inn, which is a book of poetry, Echo, which is modern fantasy, and The Voice That Challenged a Nation, which is a biography. The War That Saved My Life is, again, another great historical fiction work that shows some aspects of war that from a more personal view that you can't learn in a textbook, which I think is really great. And again, this book of poetry is one that has not just one specific type of poetry, but many that can serve as a great variety in our poetry unit. And finally, I included A Voice That Challenged the Nation because it's another biography, and I think, again, practicing this unit and pairing it with the autobiography that was my main focus in this text set would be really good for my class and really nail that unit down. So again, I'm Christine Rice, and this is my 8th book critique. Thank you.